in the world. In 2013, he was honored with the Journalist of the Year Award by the National Association of Black Journalists. He is a two-time winner of the NAACP Image Award and has received more than 40 professional media awards, as well as honors from numerous organizations for his contributions to the media. He is married to the Reverend Jackie Hood Martin, and they reside in Washington, D.C. He is also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Oh, 6.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, help me welcome to the podium Mr. Roland S. Martin.
All right. So how we doing? That's it? That's it? So let me ask that question again. How are we doing? All right, then. That's better. That's better. So I'm certainly glad to be here to see all of you. Looking forward to this day. Normally, when you go on campuses, they talk about commencement, and they always talk about how it's a solemn occasion. I never understand why they say that, like it's a funeral or something. So I don't get with that. That's not how we roll. So and I was hoping y'all band was here so we can crank it up. I did that when I spoke at Grambling. The other commencement speakers still mad because they can't follow that. But we're gonna do something first. Brother who's on the piano, I need you. Now let's just be real clear. I appreciate our commencement songs, but I came to HBCU. So I'm about to do something here. So that's right. I break all rules. They told me I couldn't. They told me I couldn't tweet and Periscope coming in. Y'all know I did. I'm about to live stream my speech right now on Facebook. So, who in this graduating class can actually sing? No. Let me be real clear. I got 1.5 million followers. If you can't sing, I will talk about you bad. So who can actually sing? Y'all are pointing to somebody. The person standing up? The person standing up can actually sing? The brother, you come here. The brother, him? John Morris? Right? John, come here. I told y'all I break rules. I do stuff a little different. So John, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Y'all good?
I'm good. You good?
Okay, John. So I need a really black song. Church or something. I need to feel that thing. You sing what, gospel? That's what you sing?
I do.
Okay, I need Jesus to literally walk through that door to come hear you sing.
Okay, how do you feel about
I don't care. That's up to you.
Okay.
You got 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Go. Come on.
I've learned how to live holy. I've learned how to live right. I've learned how to suffer. For if I suffer, I shall gain eternal life. when I see Jesus. Amen. When I see the man who died for me. Amen. All of my troubles, all of my heartache, all of my classes will be over. Oh, when I suffer, I shall gain. I shall gain eternal life.
All right. I can speak now. You know, sometimes you got to do that. It's all good. So we're going to do one last thing before I speak. I'm about to be really, really black. So I have my own TV show. And when I say I have my own TV show, that means it's mine. I decide what goes on it. So we're going to do something. Mr. President, I need you to step up for a second. Okay, this is what y'all going to do. Y'all going to say, we are the Virginia State University class of 2016. You're watching News One Down with Roland Martin on TV One, and this is going to air on Monday's show. All right, now when y'all say it, y'all got to make some noise. So turn around. All right, on the count of three, y'all better say it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was real weak. All right, one more time. 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right, y'all didn't say everything I told you to say, but that's fine. All right. I told you, we do things black at TV One because, see, we ain't got to apologize being black. So, always glad to be here. Glad to see all of you. Someone asked me outside, they said, what you going to talk about? I said, that's a good question because I don't write speeches. And then they gave me a suggestion. They emailed me a suggestion, and I never follow suggestions they give me. So as I was in the car coming over here, I began to think about it, what I want to talk about. I don't do repeat speeches since I don't write them. And what really hit me as I was contemplating this, first of all, this tassel getting on my nerve. 2 words came into my mind, and that is game time. Game time. Anytime you talk to black people, you got to name your speech because y'all going to leave here and they're going to say, what are you talking about? I don't know, but it was called game time. Anytime you're near black people, you got to tag your text so they can remember what you talked about. I always get a kick out of hearing people talk about distinguished graduates of a university because they always say so-and-so graduated from my school. So-and-so graduated from my school. It is a badge of honor when we are able to talk about our distinguished alumni. But what we have to remind ourselves is that the folks who are distinguished graduates are not distinguished just because they graduated from the school. It's what they did after graduation that determines whether or not somebody calls them a distinguished graduate. See, everybody don't get to be called a distinguished graduate. Just like everybody don't get to be called an honors graduate. I know I wasn't even close to being called an honors graduate. I just wanted a sheet of paper so I can get out and go to work. Just straight up. That's all. Look, I graduated in 1987. Nobody since has asked me about a transcript. I haven't even had to show the degree. I could just be lying and they wouldn't know. And so we always talk about this particular graduate. And then when I was at Texas A&M, the greatest journalism graduate in our school history was Lyle Lovett. Yeah, Lyle Lovett is a country singer. And when I met Lyle, I said, Lyle, you were my inspiration when I was in college. He said, Roland, that's really great. I said, no, not because you're a country singer. Because I said, ain't no way in hell the greatest journalism graduate in Texas A&M history is going to be a country singer. It will be somebody who actually went into journalism. And Lyle said, man, that's cold. I said, well, no, I'm just being honest. And so I know some people might say, well, you shouldn't aspire to want to be a distinguished graduate, but I disagree, because what that means is you want to excel to a point where somebody says that person represents the best of what our school had to offer. And the reason I say it's game time, because everything up to this point was in preparation for the game. I ask anybody who's played sports, whether they play sports here, whether they play sports in high school or in junior high or elementary school or even recreational, everything that you do to prepare for the game determines how likely you're going to play the game. Show me somebody who didn't stretch, I'll show you somebody who likely will get injured. Show me somebody who did not study the playbook, I will show you somebody who will be confused during the game. Show me somebody who cannot handle adversity in practice, I will show you somebody who likely will crack during the game. Show me somebody who runs routes in practice the way you're supposed to run them in the game, they will do it in the game. See, that's what made Jerry Rice so great. Jerry Rice practiced the same way he played the game. Jerry Rice ran routes in practice with the sharpness as he would in a game, because he said how you practice will determine how you perform in a big game. How many of you have seen the movie A Few Good Men? Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise. Do you remember that scene where he said, you can't handle the truth? Well, the way they do it in Hollywood, Daphne knows this, they don't actually shoot everything at one time. So Tom Cruise will shoot his lines, and Jack Nicholson will shoot his lines, and they're shooting them at different camera angles. I've been in a couple of movies, and I said, I don't know how I could do this every day, because this taking too doggone long. I like a live show. 3 cameras, let's go. We done in an hour. But what the director said, if you watch the director's commentary on the DVD, the director said that when they shot Tom Cruise's lines, normally they have somebody who's just on staff reading Jack Nicholson lines. But Jack Nicholson chose to read his lines off camera. He didn't have to. And he said he performed his lines off camera with the exact same intensity as he did when he was on camera. And you're sitting there saying, well, why would you do that? Because he wanted Cruise to respond to him as if he was actually talking to him. That's what folks who are trying to go to the next level do. That is, they operate and practice the same way they do in the game. And so here you are now on graduation day, and here you are, you better walk off this campus with your degree. You're now about to go in to this world. You're now about to step out into this world, and now you must understand the mistakes that you made before, now they truly will make a difference, because now it will determine whether you show up to work tomorrow or you leave today with a box in hand. Now the decisions that you make will determine whether or not mama and daddy get to retire. See, I know. See, some of y'all laughing, but see, do understand? See, I'm dead serious, because see, I I chose to be a journalist at 14. I went to communications high school. And I haven't changed what I want to do in 34 years. Everything about, for me, has always been focused on, I want to be the absolute best. Has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with, I want to take the skills that God gave me and say, I want to maximize them. So when I get to heaven, I say, I use everything you gave me as best as I could. See, there were times when I was in high school and college, and Daddy was like, why do I have to come pick you up at 8, 9 o'clock at night at this school for this program? I said, because I was actually shooting this program. We were doing this event, and it was driving him crazy. He said, that's why they have a school bus. I said, yeah, but the school bus picks up at 3 o'clock. I got to be here late. And so it was driving him crazy, and the same thing was happening in college, and he was trying to understand that. But see, right now, Daddy is living in my house in Dallas that is paid for. Mom and Daddy at my house right now driving a car that I paid for. Mom and Daddy will celebrate 50 years of marriage in June next year, and I will be paying for the party. So Daddy's no longer wondering why in the hell he had to pick me up. Now it's like, you had to pick me up so you can drive a car later I paid for. What I'm trying to say is once you go into the game of life, now all of a sudden all bets are off, because now the decisions that you make will have eternal consequences. Decisions you make as a graduate will also determine what the life will be like for your children's children. So what often happens is we look at our lives in terms of just, it's about us, when it's not just about us. Because see, you never understand what curveballs life will throw you. You never understand how all of a sudden your brilliantly laid out, written out plan on your iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy, hope it ain't a 7. You lay this thing out perfectly, but all of a sudden things change. Things begin to shift. And so you come up against adversity, just like when you're in a game of sports. You may visualize it one way, but it plays out another way. How you now react to that will determine what your future is. And so as you're sitting here excited about graduation, you should also be excited about the potential that you have for greatness. Now let me stay on that line. I said the potential for greatness. Everybody has the potential for greatness. The question is, are you going to operate and be great? Let me say that again. Everybody has the potential for greatness. The question is, will you do what is necessary to be great? Okay, some of y'all not getting this thing. Okay. Everybody has the potential for greatness. The question is, will you stay late? Will you show up early? Will you put in the work? Will you get the advanced degree? Will you work harder? Will you work smarter? Will you challenge yourself to be great? That's the only way you get to greatness. See, there are some people who desire to be great. Some people talk about being great, then they don't do jack. So, some of y'all sitting here right now, I don't know who you are, and you were the bomb at Virginia State. Oh, everybody talked about you. Everybody knew your name. But you might come back in 10 years. You might come back in 20 years. Y'all might say, well, what happened to so-and-so? Did we vote them most likely to succeed? First of all, most people who are voted most likely to succeed are not the folks who actually succeed. And that's because they were stuck in time because they rested on their laurels and they assumed, well, I was great in high school, I was great in college, so I'm just going to be great in life. It actually doesn't work that way. It means that you have to take your game to the next level. It means that in your thinking and in terms of how you operate, you must be willing to push yourself to a place, push yourself to the brink, stretch yourself to the point where you say, I didn't even realize I can do all of this. See, I love these little millennials. I appreciate y'all. I do. You know, I got folks on my staff, and they 24, 25, 26. And they figured since, you know, they were born in this digital age, they just know everything. And so we all of a sudden, they're looking at me and they're saying, please, he 48, what he know? Matter of fact, that just happened back there in the waiting room. We were waiting to come out of here, so they brought in some brothers who in media, had their cameras and all their stuff. So I'm talking to one young brother. I said, so you gonna record the interview? He said, yeah. He said, well, I'm just gonna record the audio and I'm gonna transcribe it later. I said, okay. I said, well, it might make more sense if you actually shoot the video because you can extract the audio and now you actually have the audio, the video, and you can still transcribe it for the printed version. That way you got a 3-for versus a 1. Because if you only record the audio, now you don't have video. So if somebody wanted the video of you speaking to me, you don't have any copy of it because all you have is the audio. "48 was talking to 24. Had another brother, nice brother. They had their camera all set up, but the camera's over here, and they had the audio thing over here. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, you got DLSR, you got to have some audio over there. I said, y'all might want to get the Canon XA25, which has integrated audio with 2 XLRs built in. I said, you record on 2 SD cards, one on ABC HD, the other on MP4. That way you can pop the MP4 SD card out and immediately upload to the internet without actually having to encode it. Now, I wasn't being a smartass. I was really trying to sit here and get them to understand that there's a way to do this a lot easier. And as they were doing it, I opened up my bag and understand that I pulled out my Canon XA25 because I roll with 6 HD cameras just in case something jumps off, I can document it. I'm saying all of that because although I might be where I am, although I might have my own show, although I might have my own radio show, although I might be debt free, although I might have a staff, I have not stopped learning, stopped pushing myself to greatness. And so you have to decide how far are you willing to go to be great? How far are you willing to push yourself to go to the next level? Because that's how you determine who are going to be distinguished graduates. That's how it's determined whether or not you will succeed in life when you're willing to challenge yourself. Not because your boss challenged you, not because your mama challenged you, not because your daddy challenged you, not because your co-workers challenged you, because God put something in you that must be fully maximized to its full potential. You know, somebody sitting here, they say, well, about third or fourth time he mentioned God. Because let me be real clear. Show me any athlete who's playing and they might be injured and they might be down 30 points. And God is not picking and choosing in a football game who wins and loses. But I do believe God wants to know, will you call on me if you're in trouble? Show me an athlete, looks at that clock, and they say, man, this first half, we down. They start praying. Because see, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to recognize that there's something way bigger than you that you've got to lean on through those tough times. And see, I know some of y'all like, that's good. But let me also be clear to the graduating class. And actually, it also extends to the audience. See, there will be those moments mama can't pray for you. See, there are going to be those moments where daddy can't pray for you. See, you might have been surviving up to this point of the prayers of big mama or grandpapa or something along those lines. But there will come a time in your life where you are going to have to go to God and say, I need your help to get through this. And see, I know a lot of us sit there and we say, well, but you don't think about health crisis. You don't think about loss of a job. You don't think about loss of opportunities. And you don't think about all of that because, see, what we love to do, we love to talk about somebody, what they've done, and we read their accolades and read their bios, but we never like going behind the bio. I love it people talk about Bishop T.D. Jakes in the Potter's house and 30,000 people every Sunday, and he's preaching to 1 million in Africa, but nobody wants to talk about when he was digging ditches in West Virginia. Nobody wants to talk about when his wife had him on food stamps to feed their family while he was sitting there trying to spread the gospel. Nobody wants to talk about when he was in a car wreck where he thought he was going to die in that car wreck. We want to talk about where you are today, but not what you went through. See, I appreciate when folks read these things and appreciate being named 4 times one of the most 150 influential African Americans by Ebony and appreciate the awards. But what I understand is when I was covering the 2000 Democratic National Convention, and all of a sudden my appendix ruptures, and here I am in a hospital in Los Angeles for 5 days and no health insurance. And while I'm sitting in that hospital, then I found out that the car I had is repossessed at the airport where I left it. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on. And see, understand that 7 months before that happened. I moved back to Dallas, get divorced. God says, you'll go back to Dallas, get a home, have a job promise, get to Dallas. The guy who had the job, now he can't return phone calls. So now I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on. And then God sits me down, he begins to say, write these things down. So I sit down and begin to write them down, and I'm writing these things down, and now it's all kinds of, now I'm ready to go. God said, no. I got to move some people into certain places to make sure these things happen. And I'm like, all right, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday of next week. He said, no, you got to wait. And I know somebody's saying, well, really? Yeah, because I have real discussions with God. I'm like, look, bro, that's how I talk to God. Y'all can try that King James version. That's cute. I have real conversations. And I'm sitting there trying to figure out what's going on. Then all of a sudden, opportunity calls, producer special, but then all of a sudden I get sick. So here I'm going through this. Then I get out of that, finish the project I was working on, go through 3 years, house about to be foreclosed on, still trying, like, God, what's going on? He said, wait. First of all, anybody open your Bible, go to Habakkuk chapter 2, you will see it. Write the vision down, make it plain, then wait on him. Okay, well, y'all can read that later. And so I'm sitting here going through this, trying to figure out what's going on, and he says, wait. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but light's about to be cut off at 5 o'clock. Whole time he says, I will provide everything you need. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Until the day all of a sudden, my wife's transmission goes out in her truck. I can't call anybody to drive to the bank to deposit a $200 check. Understand, when you are broke, have no money, $200 is like $2 million because that might keep the lights on. So all of a sudden, I got to sit here and walk to the bank in Dallas in August. No, it ain't no ooh. And so all of a sudden, I got to walk 10 miles that way, 10 miles back. I get to the house, my legs are literally throbbing in pain, heat exhausted, and I'm going, now God, hold up, I'm hot, I'm upset. Like, look, I ain't mad at you, but. And then he tells me, he said, what's the problem? I said, what's the problem? Transmission went out, couldn't reach anybody, had to walk. He said, so what's the problem? Like, what's the problem? My legs hurt, I'm in pain, I'm in agony, I'm hot, I'm sweating, I'm almost dehydrated. He then says, did your legs work? And I go, yeah. With attitude, yeah. He goes, I said I'll supply your needs. If your legs did not work, then you would actually have a problem. See, when you are going through these battles, you will face those challenges, And then it's no different than all of a sudden I go through that, and then all of a sudden get a job, Roland Chicago Defender. The next thing I know, in bankruptcy, pay everything off, pay all this sort of stuff. Now I'm at a crossroads. Where do I go next? And then I'm deciding, well, I can stay here. I can do this. God says, no. I need you to completely leave, because I will not open another door for you until you completely close that door publicly. And I'm like, all right, but I don't know how we're going to get paid. I'm married, and I'm living in Chicago. I'm not in Texas. God says, you have to completely close that door before I will even reveal what's next for you. Y'all, I was making $110,000. I just came out of bankruptcy. We all good. I'm like, you want me to do what? Finally, I do it. Literally the next day, I'm talking to the CEO of TV One, and he says, good, because there's some things I want you to do, this. We had never talked about before, but all of a sudden it began to be revealed. 2 months later, I've been doing free television for 4.5 years, and then 2 months later, then I'm back in New York. 3 months later, that's when I signed the deal with CNN. Then we re-up another deal with TV One. Then all of a sudden we re-up another deal. Once I do that, then all of a sudden Tom Joyner Morning Show comes. God said, I had all these for you, but see, I got to go back to 2000 when he said, you got to write it down, but you got to wait. I got to put some people in place to allow these things to happen, because see, y'all got to understand. Y'all got to understand. I need y'all to understand something. In 2000, TV One did not exist. In 2000, Jonathan Rogers was the president of Discovery Networks. Jonathan Rogers then decides to retire in 2002. All of a sudden, TV One is launched later that year. He then tells me, your voice needs to be on television. I'm going to make it happen. A year after it launches, he brings me on. We are doing commentaries. Then all of a sudden, we go to a Sunday show in 2009 when CNN says, we're not going to give you a weekend show. He says, I will. In 2012, we end the weekend show negotiating for a daily show. Now we've been doing the daily show. That was because of Jonathan Rogers, who I first met in 1989 on the board of NABJ. And now you fast forward more than a decade. God said, I had to put some people in place to make these things happen, but you have to first wait, you got to second trust me, and then you got to be faithful through the entire process to see it come about. So when y'all hear my bio, understands that's not just a bio of hard work, that's also a bio of faith, that's a bio of trust, that's a bio of waiting on him. What I'm trying to get you to understand, you can win the game of life when you trust him, when you wait on him, when you have faith in him, when you have faith in yourself. You are going to face doubt, you are going to face trouble, you are going to face agony, but if you have faith in God, faith in yourself, you will come back one day to Virginia State and they will recognize you as one of the greatest graduates of the university. Now it's time for you to get to work. Game time is on.
A clear sense of his calling in the world. In 2013, he was honored with the Journalist of the Year Award by the National Association